Apologies. We have promised that we are going to go through the memorandum itself, and we were going to be led by a dear brother of mine, Sboniso. But I must say that he is not in a position to can do that now because of the circumstances that he's finding himself in. So before we go through the memorandum, which I will be taking from this book, one wants to say just one thing, that the memorandum comes to us as a reminder that at times leadership can veer off the path, and if they do that, they need to be corrected. And for them to be corrected, they do not need to wait for events from outside the organization to correct them and actually make them realize that we are being watched. Cadres of the movement themselves, memorandum reminds us, have the duty, the primary duty that matter, to rise to occasions when the situations are really veering off the way. We see this from time to time, but we see this at the time when the African National Congress were not in leadership positions, were not in control of the state, were not controlling any state organ. And we see memorandum taking place at a point where things were really volatile, if you like to put that word. Things were happening in a way that was very dangerous for any cadres who were willing to raise their hands and say, we are willing to take this matter and treat this matter the way it needs to be treated. Because these comrades, they could face many dangers from outside and from within the movement itself. If you read history around that particular time, you realize that they were daring the devil, if you like. So what this says, it says that now that we know that the organization that they were complaining about is in power, it means that there are more forces that will be acting in that particular organization to veer off. But there need to be a balance of that, and that balance is the cadres, is going to be provided by the cadres of the movement themselves, who are going to say, there is a particular decision that you have taken. You might have retracted that decision or not, but the reality of the matter is that you've taken that decision. We want to know, we want you to explain to us thoroughly, how did you get to a point where you take such a particular decision? So this is the job of the members, the basic unit of the organizations, the cadres of the movement. Like for instance, now if we are not going to go to too many instances where leadership seem to be veering off, we look now, there is a point where government officials, cadres of the movement in the main, decided that the way they're going to structure, the way we are going to be dealing with the coronavirus is going to be through stages. That's fine. But there is a decision, there is a particular decision that they take in that meeting, I would like to assume. Which decision I fail to appreciate, that there was no one of them who stood up against that particular decision and wanted explanations. The decision of saying, in as much as we are dealing with a disease, coronavirus, COVID-19, that is actually dealing with the respiratory system, and it's making it difficult to breathe. That is how it fights the human body. But the movement, through its cadres and government, take a decision to say, no, it's fine, be that as it may, Now we are allowed, among other things that are allowed to happen at a particular stage, which I believe was stage 4, now you can smoke. That is a decision that was not basically leading the nation in a proper direction. It had to be retracted because of the challenges that it faced from the journalists and from some cadres of the movement themselves, but primarily from the journalists. So that was a misleading decision. If it was not challenged, if it was for some reason and for some coincidence supported by the mainstream media, it would have gone through. Our people would be smoking, putting themselves in serious dangers while dealing with a disease of this nature. So I'm saying those are that is an example of decisions that are basically supposed to be treated by the cadres of the movement. As you'll see in the memorandum, that it was not child's play. The issues that comrades are raising here were not child's play. These were the issues that actually spoke to the matter and spoke to the core of the rot, as they described it, that was taking place in the movement at the time. And challenging not just some of their cadres, but challenging the leadership itself in a very direct and brutally honest way, if you like. And I read the memorandum, comrade. The memorandum is actually a list of 16, or it has got 16 points or 16 demands that read as follows. Memorandum 1969. The ANC in exile is in a deep crisis, as a result of which a rot has set in. From informal discussions with the revolutionary members of MK, we have inferred that they have lost all confidence in the ANC leadership abroad. This they say openly and in fact show it. Such a situation is very serious, and in fact a revolutionary movement has to sit down and analyze such a prevailing state of affairs. The situation is further aggravated by the fact that accredited members of the organization are no longer consulted or no longer participate in policy-making decisions of the organization. There have to be 2 or 3 conferences when the leaders met and did not consult or inform the membership of the resolutions. The inference is that we are no longer considered members of the ANC. As the leading revolutionary core of the organization, it is imperative for members of MK to participate in all matters affecting the revolutionary struggle in South Africa. We raise the above points so as to arrest the present trend. We as genuine revolutionaries are moved by the frightening deaths reached by the rot in the ANC and the disintegration of MK accompanying this rot, and manifesting itself in the following way. Number 1, the ANC leadership in exile has created machinery which has become an end unto itself. It is completely divorced from the situation in South Africa. It is not in a position to give an account of the functioning branches inside the country. There has never been an attempt to send the leadership inside the country since the Rivonia arrests. There has been an over-concentration of people in offices. This has become a fully fledged activity in itself. For an example, you get a director of youth who maintains no liaison with the home front. There are other departments such as the Treasury Department, which is to all intents and purposes catering for activities outside, and whose functioning is only limited and known only to a few individuals. The Department of the Secretary General, which has not furnished any reports on the political activities in various regions of the country. The Department of Publicity, which is giving out propaganda geared only to external consumption. The quality of information is not revolutionary, and is out of step with the existing political situation inside. We strongly feel that time has come that the department should make every effort to reach the masses of our people by seeing to it that more and more of its revolutionary propaganda is written in the languages of our people. Number 2, we are perturbed by the careerism of the ANC leadership abroad, who have in every sense become professional politicians rather than professional revolutionaries. We have been forced to draw the conclusion that the payment of salaries to people working in offices is very detrimental to the revolutionary outlook of those who receive such monies. It is without doubt that such payments corrupt cadres at any level and have the effect of making people perform their duties or fill offices because of money inducement rather than the dedication to the cause. They become in effect merely salaried employees of the movement. It is high time that all members and cadres of the ANC, be they in MK or not, should receive equal treatment and be judged only on the basis of their dedication and sacrifices to the cause we serve. The principle of thorough selection of cadres should be on the basis of merit, and such selection should never be delegated to an individual. This will prevent individuals owing allegiance to those who appoint them rather than to the revolution. Number 3, the leadership of the ANC abroad must be committed to a resolution and program of going home to lead the struggle there. Which resolution and program must be implemented. Presently, there is a leadership vacuum at home, as all the leaders are either locked up in Foster's prisons or are in exile. This has deprived the South African masses of leadership, which is so vital at this crucial moment of our revolution. A situation where our people, because of this vacuum, will be deceived by opportunists of all shades is strongly developing. We feel that the number of leaders attending international conferences and other globe-trotting activities should be cut down to a reasonable few, and the remainder should work around the clock, working on the home front. 4, there are certain symptoms which are very disturbing and dispiriting to genuine revolutionaries. These comprise the opening of mysterious business enterprises which, to our own knowledge, has never been discussed by the membership of the organization. For instance, in Lusaka, a furniture industry is being run by the ANC. In Livingstone, a bone factory whose original purpose was to provide cover for underground work in Botswana, is now being used as a purely commercial undertaking. As a result of these enterprises, more and more MK men are being diverted to them. And some of the people in charge of these enterprises are dubious characters with shady political backgrounds. We are therefore compelled to conclude that there is no serious drive to return home and carry on the struggle. This is disturbing because the very comrade, Thabo More was John Deese, who is supposed to be planning, directing and leading the struggle in South Africa, is fully involved in these enterprises in collaboration with others, and it is extremely doubtful that with his attention so divided he can do justice to the armed struggle in South Africa, which should be his primary and absolute concern. The leadership of the ANC can't but be blamed for this state of affairs. 5, an equally disturbing situation is that MK is being run independently of the political organization. The political leadership abroad is not aware of the activities and the plans of MK. We therefore infer that MK is separate from the ANC, that there is conflict between the ANC and MK, that the ANC has lost control over MK, that there is no coordination between the ANC and MK. All this has brought about a situation where MK is run single-handed by the commander-in-chief, who appoints and dismisses arbitrarily. As a result, there is a tendency among members of the headquarters to owe allegiance to the individual who appoints and dismisses them, and it takes a genuine revolutionary to challenge him. We are compelled to blame the National Executive for this anomalous situation. 6. The Security Department is internally directed. It is doing nothing against the enemy. It has achieved nothing of militarily importance. The failure of this so-called Security Department has been shown by its inability to furnish the organization with the fate of our most dedicated comrades in Zimbabwe. Or how is it possible that so many comrades have been able to desert so successfully? In the prosecution of its internally directed activities in the Security Department, the Security Department has become notorious. Those who serve in it have the central task of suppressing and persecuting genuinely dedicated cadres of MK who have nothing to lose by participating in the struggle except their chains. There is no security department in our organization. For instance, the arrest of Msomi and Matthews was inevitable, as the fact of their presence in South Africa was common knowledge, as well as comrades bound for home. The situation is tantamount to betrayal of comrades. In Morogoro, Joseph Cotton, Shadrach Tladi, and Boy Otto are openly flirting with the Peace Corps, an internationally known CIA front, counter-revolutionary and espionage organization. The first two handle vital information as they are concerned with the radio transmission service, relaying organizational material. Boy Otto is moving between Zambia and Tanzania, transporting MK personnel and war material. Most disturbing is that a comrade raised this matter with the Secretary General and Chief of Security of the ANC, Dumanoko, who agreed that the matter of the above comrades flirting with the Peace Corps was true and that it should be furnished in writing, but no action was taken. This is very disturbing and discouraging to serious revolutionaries who know fully well that these three comrades are close to the leading figures of the ANC and MK. For instance, Joseph Cotton is the son of Moses Cotton and Treasurer General of the ANC and General Secretary of the SACP. Shadrach Tladi is a relative of Thabo Mbeki, who is the Commander-in-Chief of MK and member of the National Executive Committee of the ANC abroad. This has made us and many other comrades conclude that there is nepotism in the ANC. An equally perturbing fact is that Mrs. Vinokwe, the wife of Secretary General and Chief of Security of the ANC, Comrade Dinoko, is presently working for Amiran Israel, an internationally known Israel intelligence organization operating under the cover of an import-export firm. This Amiran Israel is a coordinating center for Israeli intelligence services, Shin Bet, in Southern Africa, Central Africa, including Congo-Brazzaville and Congo-Kinshasa. Israel is a nest of imperialism which is actively sabotaging the national liberation. Presently, it has colonized parts of Arab territories and is maintaining close links with the most reactionary and fascist governments, such as South Africa and the revanchist Federal Republic of Germany. We demand an explanation of this anomalous situation, and we demand that she should cut links with this counter-revolutionary organization forthwith, and should there be any other links with Israel, the ANC should sever them in the interest of our revolution. 7. The tragedy of the Zimbabwe campaigns is the fact that we have been unable to analyze our operations as to be able to assess and draw lessons that will make it possible for us to formulate a correct strategy and tactics vis-a-vis the enemy. 8. It is a cause for serious concerns that comrades who have come back from the battlefront have not been accorded a comradely reception, and the fact that there has been no reappraisal of their combat experience. We are shocked by the criminal neglect of our most dedicated comrades who have either fallen in battle, sentenced to death, or serving long-term imprisonment in Zimbabwe. These men are heroes who have performed their revolutionary tasks gallantly without flinching. How can we possibly keep quiet about these valorous sons of South Africa? Is this not an indication of callousness and irresponsibility on the part of the leadership? The behavior of the Secretary General and the Chief of Security of the ANC, Dumanokwe, and his attitude towards Comrade James Lenze when we petitioned for a meeting disturbed us greatly. For him to have said he did not recognize Mlenze is a height of indifference and cynicism, and we are really very worried about it. Here is a comrade from the battlefront, a commander of a unit, and a security chief of a vital region, namely Transkei, accorded this type of snub. Number 9. We are perturbed by the fact that certain members of MK are receiving payments from the external mission. Members such as the Commander-in-Chief and the CPO, who as a matter of fact are getting allowances, and the fact that the Commander-in-Chief has a Porsche and militarily irrelevant car at his disposal. The fact that these soldiers are paid has a very demoralizing effect on other revolutionaries. 10. Individual leaders keep cars and run them, and this coupled with the fact that they receive salaries, allowances, is in every way building them up as a middle class in our revolutionary organization and in MK. Number 11. A strange and alarming trend is developing whereby secret trials and secret executions have been carried out. We are not against the execution and liquidation of traitors, but we are against this veil of secrecy. We are having in mind the trials of Zola Zembe, Wellington Bata, Palanyane, and Bopela. It is a shame that we should have been witnesses to the emergence of extremely reactionary methods of punishments in MK. There have been instances when offenders in MK have been dumped in dugouts filled with several drums of water without blankets or any other protective material for periods up to about 22 days. The cases in point are those of Daphne Zwane, Tolman Ndlovu, Bob Zulu, Erens, and Joseph Ndlovu. This type of punishment, among others, is from any angle criminal and inhumane, and must have been designed to break the physical and moral integrity of victims. 12. The ANC is the vanguard of the revolutionary struggle in South Africa, and it is strange that its leaders have not been obliged to take the MK oath. We strongly feel that there is no difference between the leaders of the ANC and men of MK who are obliged to take the oath. For such an oath might have dealt with J. Gadebe's desertion and will definitely deal with any other leader harboring right-wing designs of sabotaging our revolution. 13. The development of the revolution has necessitated a renewal and rejuvenation. The development of the revolution has necessitated a renewal and rejuvenation of those who are leading it. We must guard against the fossilization of the leadership, as this is likely to hinder the progressive development of our revolution. There has been a tendency to appoint people to the national executive outside. We would like to know what is the yardstick for these appointments. After proper consultation with all the members of the ANC, a method should be found of changing leadership, and the fact that there have been no conference involving all our members at home should not be used as an excuse for not renewing the leadership. We should not depend on mandates given at national conferences 10 or more years ago. We have been forced to conclude that a few individuals are monopolizing posts in the organization. This has brought about a situation where members of the Planning Council are also members of the National Executive. 14, it is alarming that double standards as regards to health of the members of the organization are maintained. Whenever leaders are sick, arrangements are made for them to receive excellent medical attention without delay. But this sort of concern is hardly shown to the rank and file of the movement. We maintain that all of us are important insofar as the revolution is concerned and should thus be accorded the same treatment. 15, we consider the youth in MK as the most revolutionary. We strongly feel that we should be consulted on matters affecting the youth. For instance, we must be informed about the revolutionary international youth gatherings, and we should be given priority in the sending of delegates. The farce of the Bulgaria ANC youth delegation should never be repeated, and those responsible should acknowledge the mistake they made. The youth of South Africa is not located in London or in any European capital. We therefore take particular exception to the appointment of certain students as leaders of the ANC youth. Thabo Mbeki, who went to London on a scholarship sponsored by NUSAS, is a leader of a bogus youth organization, bogus ANC youth organization. We are convinced that the ANC leadership in exile is according better treatment and attention to the students. This attitude and practice has had a disastrous effect of diverting many would-be revolutionaries into the academic field. We feel that it is high time that the MK personnel, which is in fact the core of our revolution, should be given best treatment by virtue of having volunteered with their lives to give the supreme sacrifice for the revolution. Another disturbing symptom is the glaring practice of nepotism, where the leadership uses its position to promote their kith and kin and put them in position where they will not be in any physical confrontation with the enemy. The sending of virtually all the sons of the leaders to universities in Europe is a sign that these people are being groomed for leadership positions after the MK cadres have overthrown the fascists. We have no doubt that these people will wait in Europe and will just come home when everything has been made secure and comfortable for them, playing the typical role of banders and others. As opposed to the treatment of the student, we find complete indifference and apathy to the heroes and martyrs of our revolution who have fallen both in South Africa and Zimbabwe. We have in mind the gallant sons of our country who, without doubt, lay their lives in the struggle against imperialism. These include, among many, Patrick Msedi, one-time president of the ANC Youth League and former treason trialist, Benson Tsele, the tireless commissar, the young cream of our country, Sparks Mloyi, Chris Mampuru, James Masimini, and Andre Simtsipe. We have not forgotten those who have defiantly and stubbornly refused to be frightened by the hangman's noose in Rhodesia, following the heroic example set by our murdered martyrs Vuyisile Mini, Zinakile Mkaba, Diliza Kayingo, W. Bongo, and others. These comrades are the dedicated Alfred Mninzi, known to many of us as James Hermanus, Tamane, known as Zami, the son of that great revolutionary and women's leader Dora Tamane, the young Rhodes Msutu Ngamlana, known to us as Charles Muhambi and Tula Bopela. 16. We call for a full definition of the ANC-ZAPU alliance, its form and content. We demand that a serious and genuine effort should be made toward the intensification of ways and means of going home. This should be one actively involving the most dedicated members of MK, and it should be in the basis of a correct strategy. In conclusion, all these problems must be resolved by a conference between the ANC leadership and members of MK, and not just a hand-picked individuals. Then you see the signatories to the memorandum. Thank you.